Hi everyone. Today I wanted to have a chat about hand lettering, specifically in your sketchbook. So I really like it when other urban sketchers add hand lettering to their sketches. I think it can really sort of finish off a sketch. You can do things like record the location and date of your sketch, as well as other bits and bobs like the time and the weather, or maybe even some notes to aid your memory of the scene. Or technical notes, maybe what colors you used in the picture, in the sketch, any mixes, or just to give your sketch a bit of an overall sort of journal feel. That's what I did with this Tower Bridge sketch. I kind of looked up some random facts about Tower Bridge and then just added them in. And then I looked up for this sketch what a group of octopus are called, and it's a consortium, and I really liked that word. I thought it was really cool, so I wanted to add that in. And then with this houseplant, I don't know, I just saw some faux kind of calligraphy brush script type stuff as finishing this piece off. I think it looks really nice. So I just wanted to like show you some examples from other urban sketches. So this is Pat Southern Pierce. I'm a massive fan of hers. Her work on toned paper is just brilliant, and I just love her hand lettering. I think it's really unique. I haven't really seen anything else like this before. And she adds like titles, but also kind of general handwriting as well. Um, Different colors, different places. I just think it looks really beautiful, and I think the sketch wouldn't just look the same without that type of hand lettering. So I think it's quite unique to her style. Um, there's another urban sketcher from the UK, which is Liz Ackley. Um, and some of her hand lettering's actually got a bit of a similar vibe to Pat Southern Pierce, but yeah, again, I just really like the way she writes on her sketches. It's again like a really interesting font or way she writes, with some letters are small and some are big, and she adds it quite consistently as well, like this same type of lettering. So I don't know if it's like a font or a style of lettering she's just come up with herself. But yeah, I instantly know it's a Liz Ackley sketch when I see the hand lettering on it, because it's so distinctive, I think. Um, so yeah, some nice examples from her sketches there. Liz Steele, which I'm sure you must have heard of, an Australian urban sketcher. She tends to draw like guidelines in a blue kind of ink to add notes. But she also does this awesome thing. You see the top left hand corner, she adds the dates, and she does it with a stamp, which I also think is really cool. She tends to do the first two letters of the um, day of the week and then adds in the number for the date as well. So you can see there she's got the blue lines that she puts in with a ruler, and then she adds in her lettering. I mean, I think it helps that she's got neat handwriting. She's an ex-architect, so she's got that kind of architectural handwriting. Another guy like who's a reportage kind of illustrator guy, adds in his kind of notes of what's going on, what people are talking about, just in quite a simple way, simple, neat way. It just adds like quite a lot of interest to his sketches. It really helps to tell the story of what's going on. It's really interesting. And then James Richards, big fan of his. He always has some nice kind of uh, lettering or writing on his sketches as well. I think he's also like an urban planner or something like that, and kind of architecturally minded. So I think he's got that kind of cool kind of architect writing as well. Um, but yeah, again, it doesn't have to be anything too crazy. It does obviously help if you've got some nice handwriting, but we'll cover that in a minute. Alicia Aradilla as well. I love how she has done a few sketchbook spreads where it looks like she's like an old, they're old notebooks from an adventurer or something, like on an expedition. I really like that, and I really like her color notes here. So she does swatches, um, and she'll write some notes alongside that. And this is like a nice food sketch that she's done. I can't always read her notes, but because it's in her nice kind of scripty handwriting, but that's okay. It's for her. It's her personal sketchbook, her personal notes, so that's fine. So moving on to some of the places that you can find inspiration, one of my favorite places is this website, this font website called Dafont.com, and you can see there that there's like loads of different categories of fonts, and it's just quite incredible actually, just the amount of variety of different fonts you can find. So yeah, if you go to dafont.com, the front page will always just be like the most recently uploaded, and you can type in whatever you want in that box there, and you can select your size, and then you can see what your word is in that font. So this makes it a really good practice tool. You can even download these fonts as well. They're usually for personal use only, but that's great because you can download it and then type in whatever you want, and then you can practice kind of copying those letter forms, so I find this is like a really good way of like just expanding your knowledge of like what possibilities are out there. It's just quite incredible, again, like how many different font styles there are. So I went to this runes elvish sort of category because I thought that was interesting, and I've got Edinburgh on my mind at the moment because we're going to go and visit next year, and it's just such a stunning city, and I can't wait to go and do lots of sketching there. So yeah, I thought this font lent itself well. It kind of has that kind of almost a Celtic-y vibe. So I thought, right, okay, let's try practicing with this. So in Photoshop, I added some lines there just so I could get a sense of how the letters sat, and where the tallest ones hit which line, and the bottom of the letters where they hit, and where the main bulk of the letters sat. So I recommend getting a nice sharp pencil for this, and I recommend getting your ruler out. So again, this is just for practice, if you want to practice like some nice different fonts. So I just added some guidelines. I didn't measure anything. I just used the width of the ruler, which was probably a bit tall for this font, to be honest. It wasn't quite proportional to what I saw on my screen, but that's fine. The idea here is not to copy exactly what you see. It's just to kind of get an idea of how these fonts are made or how they're put together. Which letters hit which lines and how tall they are and whatnot, and trying to get a feel for also the spacing in between the letters as well. That's also like quite an important thing to pay attention to. I think it's called kerning is the technical name for it, but we don't need to worry about that. It's just the spacing in between each individual letters, just so they're nice and even as well. So if you think about hand lettering in terms of like drawing the letters rather than writing, I think that can sometimes help, especially as we are people who draw. If you think of it in those terms, then it's a bit easier to tackle, and that's especially easy if you're doing something like this where it's a nice title or something and something really fancy. In terms of writing your notes and stuff, I think with just some practice on writing neatly, if that's how you want it to look, then you can get there. But me, I quite like when it's like super messy and there's like ink spots, and I like that vibe very much. So just I've embraced my messiness. I think you should too. But some people are super neat. Again, referring back to Alicia's work, she's very neat, but I can't read what she's written. But that's okay because it's for her. It's that nice kind of loopy, scripty stuff. So practice in pencil. Always try and draw out some guidelines because that really does help with the consistency aspect and stuff. And it will give you a bit more confidence to kind of, you can see visually where the letters are supposed to hit which lines and stuff like that. So I do recommend, if you want to add hand lettering to your sketches and you want to make it look really nice and stuff, then the key always is to practice, really. But practicing different fonts and stuff like that can really help you just stockpile some different lettering ideas in your brain, just through muscle memory or just through drawing them. I feel like now I've done this font and I've practiced it. I'd probably do it a few more times, but just even adding those random dots like in the middle of letters or in any spaces, that's quite an interesting idea. And maybe that's something I'll carry forward one day when I'm like, oh, I want to do some cool lettering. I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that way that I practiced that time, and it's something I can incorporate into my work in future, you know. So I feel like the more you try different lettering styles and practice, then like the better it's going to be if this is something, you know, that you want to add to your sketches. I appreciate that not everyone does, and that this is not something that you know, not everyone will want to do, and that's fine. But I'll assume if you've watched the video thus far that you are one of those people that do want to add this kind of things to your sketches. So I'm just going around the outlines in like a fine liner. I'm actually filling them in with a big Tombow brush pen, and that's only because I drew this so big that I needed to get that coverage like quicker than the fine liner colouring in with a fine liner would have done. But obviously probably would never draw this bigger lettering in my sketchbook anyway, because my sketchbook's not even this big. So yeah, I was just doing it with the Tombow brush pen for speed, but you know, you get the idea really anyway. But yeah, you could easily add something like this. So I really highly recommend like a font website. I think that's the easiest way to just find pure fonts to kind of practice with. But of course, you can check out places like Pinterest and Instagram and stuff like that as well. If you want to read a bit more about hand lettering and go into a bit more depth about it, I've got a whole blog post on the subject over on the blog urbansketchingworld.com, along with my book recommendations, some of my favourite Instagram accounts, Pinterest, that kind of thing, as well as a few more technical details about adding hand lettering to your work. So yeah, do go check that out, guys. Thanks very much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.